my goodness! Holy sh!
Hey folks, welcome back. Now, as you can see by my cold weather attire here, winter is upon us. And with that in mind, what better time than to take on a motorcycle project? It's a 1982 Honda CB450 Nighthawk. I forget all of the information the guy told me. It was kind of irrelevant anyway. But anyway, there was no title. I went to look at it. I didn't have a way to haul it the day I went to look at it. I was just up in Des Moines for other reasons. And he drastically slashed his price on his own. I didn't even have to, start dealing with him. So by the way he talked, they were moving. I know that. And I got the impression that if this thing didn't get sold, which apparently he wasn't getting much interest in his ad, but if it didn't get sold, it was probably going to get scrapped. So I told him I'd think about it overnight, and the next day I went up to go get it. I was thinking I might have a use for this engine in a future project. That still remains to be seen, but he priced it cheap enough that I really didn't get hurt on it. He claimed it was stored inside in a shed. For how long, I don't know or don't remember. But it does crank, so the engine's not stuck, and it does sound like it has compression. So that and being a Honda, hell yeah, it's going to run. Let's take a look. I know I'm not even going to try to run this tank. I don't know if it's going to, yeah, it's probably not going to pick it up, but if you reach in there, crunchy, crunchy. Now I know there's kits out there you can get that will basically line the inside of a gas tank with a layer of something when the tank is rusty, so that will seal it up. But yeah, I've heard anyway of people having good results and other people saying that that layer will start crunching and peeling away, and I'm guessing that's what I'm feeling in there. So, and you can tell the bike has been disassembled at some point. The tank's not even bolted down, the carbs are loose. So I really don't know what has been done. I won't even probably mess with the carburetors right off. I think right now I'm just going to see if it has spark. Because also, it's got this tractor switch on it. I asked the guy if he happened to have the key for it, but he said he didn't. So anyway, there it is in all its glory. Let's get some parts tore off it and see if we can get some spark at least. Then I'll move on to the carburetors. Yeah, not even hooked up. Yeah, not even hooked up at all. My guess is someone had the bike tore apart. Maybe they were going to work on the carbs, they never did, and they just kind of stuffed it all back together just to move it or get rid of it or something. Hopefully I can find all the parts to hook the carburetors back up. Although, they do appear to be stuck. There's some serious gankage going on there. Okay, I got a battery here, some jumper cables, and not Steve's being kind of needy today for some reason. Let's see here, got my test light grounded out. Got power to the solenoid. And upon investigating this switch, let's see, they've got, I know it's not going to show here, ignition. This should be battery over here, and this should be for cranking, but I'm not getting any juice to the battery. You can see where somebody's put this wire in. Let's see, there should be some fuses over here if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there should be, but there isn't. I know years ago I had a 650 or 750 Nighthawk, and there was one fuse on it that when it would blow out, it would just kill everything. So I'll throw some fuses in there, see what happens. See if I can even find any old glass fuses. Well, maybe I should see if there's even any power going to any of those. There, got a little something going on there. Apparently nothing with that one. And nothing with the bottom one. Find something to cram in that top one. Found a 20 amp fuse to put in there. It didn't blow it, so let's see here. Find this again. Yeah, this one should be battery. Yeah, still no power. Nope. Okay, let's do some further investigating. Now I could spend a bunch of time cutting open all this wiring harness and tracing wires, but I think the smarter thing to do was to get online and see if I can find a wiring diagram that will significantly help. Right now it's cold enough out, I got the doors open, that working without gloves is kind of at a huge detriment. So I'm just going to pull the plug on this for a little bit, work on the Bronco, and then when I'm somewhere inside when it's nice and warm, I'll see if I can pull up a wiring diagram, and then I'll get back to this. But, another note here, it's been off the road for roughly 10 years. Well, I went in, had some dinner, got warmed up, and then found what I assumed to be a wiring diagram for this. It wasn't actually labeled as such. The diagram itself wasn't, but somebody said it was, so we'll go with that. As you can see, I've made a big damn mess of this. I don't feel bad about it because the wiring harness was messed up anyway, with the missing ignition switch and the missing kill switch, and the tractor switch over there wasn't working. Let's see if I can explain what I've got going on here. This is the brain box, or CDI box. This is an electronic ignition. I've got it traced down to where all I need to do is power it up with this wire. Now, here's the problem. I didn't have this problem like Kawasaki, but I've run into this with Hondas before, or one other Honda at least. The ignition system is tied in heavily to the charging system. Now, I'm not too sure if I need to power up the charging system. What I've done is I've traced it, the only 3 wires left here. This one is hot, goes to the battery all the time. The green one is ground. It runs through the harness and picks up some other grounds, and then they all ground right here. And the black one is hot. And this is the odd thing about motorcycles. They're not like American vehicles where black is ground. This is not the case. What's happening here is everything that's coming out on this black wire, and it splices into some other black wires and runs in, like one of them, for instance, runs up to the horn. So what's happening here with that is it's taking power right out of the charging system and applying it to other parts of the bike, so it's not pulling power out of the battery. So I'm assuming I don't need to power up this because the red wire should just be the charge wire that recharges the battery. But at any rate, I'm just going to put power to this one, see if I get spark. If that doesn't work, then I'll try putting power to this as well. Got it hooked up. It's tied into this hot post on the solenoid. No smoke rolling, no funny smells. Got my spark checker on there. Let's give me a screwdriver. I'll crank the engine over, and all I'm going to do is short the 2 posts out on this. Alright, I'll try powering up the charging system, see what that does. So I put a nice big wire right in there, running it over. Just wrapped it around there, going to the charging system, and then I still got this one here for the ignition. Let's try it again. Come on. Still nothing. Well, maybe the CDI box is bad. Well, it's been a long night, and I don't have it running. I did do some checking online, trying to find specs for checking the various parts in the ignition system. I didn't get a specific one for the coil, but I kind of got a roundabout idea, and it's reading really low in ohms. So I'm going to see about getting a different coil, but I did find where there's a GM coil that supposedly works really well on there with a little adaptation. So I'll see about getting a GM coil tomorrow in town, and maybe that'll help along. I wanted to check the, what's it called, down there in the crankcase. It sends the signal up to the CDI box. The pulsar. I wanted to check that, but I'm just going to go with the coil for now. I'm trying to do this without buying a manual, which may seem like a bad idea. But then, just a little bit ago, I found an actual Honda factory manual that somebody put in on a PDF on the internet. So I downloaded that and it went through. So that saved me some bucks right there. Honestly, I didn't spend really that much time on this. I would work on it a little bit and then go ahead and work on my Bronco for a while and think about this, do a little research, and then go back to this for a while and pedal around with it and then do a little research, then work on this some more. So yeah, at this point, I'm just going to get the coil, hope for the best. And now that I got that manual downloaded, I'll go ahead and do a little research for that. Right now, I'm all gritty and nasty from all the grinding and welding on that. Fire's dwindling down. I'm just going to call it a night. So it is now exactly 1 week later. I spent the day or the afternoon working on the Bronco here. I'm sick of grinding and welding and fabricating, so let's mess around with the bike some more. Now I realized I didn't need to buy a coil because I have a Pontiac, Grand Prix out there, and I cross-checked the numbers and this one's good. Well, it's good as far as it should work for me. But anyway, my research on my coil was wrong. Once I started looking at the manual that I downloaded, my resistance for the factory coil is supposed to be from 0.55 to 0.65, and mine was 1.7. So that's not good because other things I read were saying that too much resistance in the coil makes life hard on the CDI box. I said hard on. But anyway, so yeah, that might have killed the CDI box. Who knows? We'll get to that later. Another thing I found out, this black and white wire is not supposed to be powered up. If I would have paid a little more attention to the wiring diagram, this black and white wire ran up to originally to the kill switch, which used to be right here. And what that would do, the kill switch would actually ground this wire and kill the ignition. Now, what does power up the ignition, you may ask? Gather around, it's story time. Years ago, well, no, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, maybe not quite that long, but I had a 1988 Honda NX650. I love that bike. That bike was awesome. And all my life I've had good luck with Hondas. I think Hondas are great, but one spring I got that bike out of storage, went to start it, wouldn't start. Got to mess around, no spark. I changed everything in that ignition system. Did internet research. I changed the pulsar coil down in the case. I changed the coil. I changed the CDI box, all with genuine Honda parts. I think I had like $600 or $700 in finding those Honda parts. The coil was the hard one to find. And the only other thing left was the windings in the stator. And I pulled that out and checked it with a meter, and they were good, and I wasn't going to keep throwing money at it, so I eventually sold it. But when that happened, that kind of really shook my faith in Hondas. I find your lack of faith disturbing. But doing my research, I'm kind of looking at pretty much the same thing with this bike. Now, the reason the other Honda you had to check the stator out is because what powered up the ignition was actually the engine running or cranking. It did not actually get any power from the battery to run the ignition. It would actually get battery once the stator started spinning, or alternator, whatever you want to do. I'm an idiot when it comes to electrical stuff. I know the basics, but and that's the way this thing is too. And the entire ignition on this is almost exactly like that NX650 I had, except if I'm not mistaken by my research, this has 2 pulsar coils down in there. But anyway, enough blabbering around about this and my problems. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try this coil, check it out for resistance. If it's not good, I still got 2 more out there on the car I can go pull off and try. And we'll get this coil put on there and try that, and then if that doesn't work, we'll start moving on to other stuff. Well, the first coil didn't work out. I think I got 1.6 out of it, so I went and pulled the other two coils, and I got a 1.4, and this is the lowest resistance one I can get. It'll give me a 1.3. From what I've read, you ideally want to have it below 1, but because I'm here tonight, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try anyway. As you can see, I cut the pigtail off of the original coil, and you have to take these terminals and shave them down a bit to get them to fit in there. This coil does not have to be grounded. From what I've read, get in there. Now, from what I've read, when one post is throwing spark to a cylinder, the other post is what's grounding the coil. I don't know, sounds a little weird to me, but we'll give her a shot. So I just got the coil sitting up there. Excuse me. Went down to my part shed, grabbed some plug wires, Ford. I got some Ford in the mix. Now, when I was researching using this, the advice said to re-gap your plugs to 0.35. So I did that, but when I did buy new plugs, and when I pulled the old ones out, they were only finger tight. So somebody's been in here messing with the ignition in the past as well. And I also noticed, I went ahead and checked the oil. There was nothing showing on the dipstick. And I had to put in, I don't know, maybe a little over a quart of oil. I don't know what this thing holds, but it seems like that's quite a bit. But just in the little amount of time it's been sitting here, it does have a little bit of leakage going on. But anyway, I got it all hooked up. I've unhooked that black and white wire that I had powered up last time. Let's see what we got here. Hey! All right. Well, I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and, I got spark. I'm going to go ahead and pop open them carbs, see how they look inside. Now also, while I was down at the shed, I went ahead and grabbed one of these GM HEI modules. It's not unusual for these to work on motorcycles. And this will from what research I did, these will kind of work on these and kind of not. Like, let's use my 1100 KZ as an example. Down in one side of the case, the sensors that actually tell the brain box what to do, that sensor that trips the sensor, it actually has a mechanical advanced mechanism built into it, just like you'd find in a distributor. This does not. The CDI box takes care of all the advanced features. Now, this would work on my Kawasaki. As a matter of fact, on my Kawasaki, when I was putting it together, there's two sides of the CDI box, and one side was dead. And just for shits and giggles, I tried one of these and got it to work. But I went ahead and ordered a new CDI box for it anyway. It was just making a cleaner setup than doing two of these. But I did read where these will actually work on this bike, but the problem is there's no advanced mechanism. So these only run up to about 4,000 RPM, and then it just kind of falls on its face or backfires or something. So if I wouldn't have got any spark, I would have tried this just to get it to run. But there's spark there now, so that's just an interesting note for those of you that have a motorcycle with an electronic ignition, but it does need to have that mechanical advance, which this does not. Well, things are already looking bad here. This slide is stuck, and it seems like this one, it moves, but the return spring seems awfully weak to me. I can tell, well, yeah, you can see there's a screw loose there. Not only loose, looks like they got it back in crooked. Well, so far everything's come out pretty good. I guess it just does have these flimsy little return springs on the, what do you call them? Oh, I can't think what they're called. Anyway, I've never run into one quite like this, but I don't profess to be an expert on all things motorcycle. Usually there's like a rubber boot in here that seals this up. These are just a really precise fit into there. This is the one that was stuck, but it comes right out now. I can slide it in and out of the body of the carb and in and out of that, and it does just fine. So I don't know, it must have just somehow gotten a bind. I'm getting the impression this carburetor's been apart too by all the loose screws in it. So somebody probably just had it bound up. But got a little bit of wear here on these slides. But, as you can see, in the bowls, he gets a little scuzzy. Let's keep tearing her down. All blown apart. Nothing majorly wrong. I initially wasn't even going to split the two apart, but there's this little diaphragm here on the side of each one. And I'm glad I did, because the one that I couldn't get to, it was pretty nasty. Now the diaphragm itself seems to be okay. Yeah, there was some crust in there. Not sure what that does, but I don't have enough carb cleaning fluid to do all this stuff. So I'll have to get some tomorrow, and plus the idle speed screw is missing. I'll get one of those. And I'll go to the parts store and check out some new coils and see if any of those fall under 1 ohm, or if I can even get closer to the Honda specs. But for now, let's now it's got spark, let's see if we can get it to fire with a little bit of starting fluid. There'll be no way to control it, but let's try it anyway. Been there before. Not a very good mist on that one. She's chugging. Let's keep the stupidity rolling, shall we? Alright, we'll go back to this can. Man, lucky it didn't set me on fire. Getting starting fluid all over my hand. Oh well, that's a good sign anyway. Oh, we're not done yet. Ho ho. Not just yet. Got some good old gasoline here. Not too much. There we go. I think I'm going to call that good enough. We'll get back to this tomorrow. Not a bad day out this afternoon. Got back from town. I got a screw here to work as the idle adjustment. Needed a couple of O-rings for the mounts, boots, whatever you call them, in there. I needed some smaller O-rings for the transfer tubes. These aren't really as wide as the original ones, but hopefully they'll do, because these things are just hard and brittle. What else did I get? Oh yeah, a couple of coils here. I'll try those out. At least one will be going back. If neither one has any better ohm reading than the one I'm using, then I'll send them both back. But as usual, time has gotten away from me today. I'll get started cleaning these up and see how far I can get. And I know for damn sure I ain't going to get the carbs back together and on the bike and running, but we'll do what we can. The Blue Streak ended up getting 1.3 reading, and the Master Pro was a 1.2, so a little bit better. I think in the store they said they had 3 more of these, so I think I'm going to take these back on my way to work tonight, and hopefully I'll remember to take my little pigtail here. I can plug into the other 3 in the store and check them out, maybe find something just a little bit better. Well, it's been a couple days, and as you can see, they're still sitting here disassembled, and let me explain to you why. I didn't notice it when I took them apart, but once I started cleaning the parts to put it back together, I did see this. This is apparently an accelerator pump, but it's only in one carburetor. And that diaphragm was, I mean, it's intact, but it's extremely stiff. That was issue number one. Issue number two is these little diaphragms here. Once I got to cleaning up, I kind of got to studying them, trying to understand what they were and how they worked. But then I saw this little point here and like, well, how is that sealed up? It made me think there's some O-rings missing. And turns out once I looked up a rebuild kit, yeah, there are a nice variety of O-rings that go with this. And the third issue, and this tells me for sure that somebody's been into these carbs, which I pretty much figured anyway, both of these bowl seals were out of the, well, I don't have the bowls, they're soaking in pine sol right now, but both of these had been out of the little channel that they sit in, and they were pinched really severely. I think it might pick it up here. You can see that it's been kind of smashed. So yeah, after discovering those three things, I decided I was just going to go ahead and get a kit. They're on their way. I guess it gives me time to do other stuff. I've been to all three parts stores in town, and none of them have any coils that are lower than 1.3, and typically they're running anywhere from 1.6 to 1.3. So far, the lowest one I've been able to find is this one used, and it's at 1.2. I don't know, I might spend an afternoon in a couple of junkyards and start checking some junkyard coils, see if I can't find something with some lower resistance. But anyway, my biggest issue at this point is that one-way check valve in there is not working. I don't see any way to tap that out of there because the little housing is not machined to get out of there. So I guess I'm going to soak it in some pine sol, see if that'll get it freed up. I guess while that's soaking, I don't have much else to do. I'm going to go ahead and put the case back on there. I had it off before I'd done all my research. I took the case off just to see if there was a mechanical advance mechanism in there. And there was also, I found some reference saying to clean this up. If it was too rusty, it might affect the signal, but I don't know why that would matter if it's a magnetic pulse. But anyway, I pulled the case off just to check for both of those. I'll reseal it, put it back on there. And now that I got enough wiring to make spark, I think I'll just bundle this back up and get it out of the way in preparation for when I do get it running and for the first ride. Was shuffling vehicles around yesterday and backed the billy goat into the shed here. Had these two little rugs here. Sometimes it gets kind of muddy in here when it rains hard, and I just had these old rugs sitting there to walk on to keep me out of the worst of the mud. And that bolted tire grabbed that rug up and wadded it up, and that was kind of a shame because that rug really tied the shed together. So the wiring is bundled back up, got the regulator rectifier bolted on. Even though I most likely won't use this coil, I did find a place to bolt it up there. And I'll use this lawnmower gas tank. I'll bungee cord it on there later on, but that's about all I can do for now until I get those parts for the carburetor. One thought that I had once I was bundling up this wiring was, if you remember, I told you that this black and white wire, that is the kill for the ignition. And I got to thinking, once I got bundled up, I wanted to make sure I still had spark. And then I thought about this wire. Maybe that's why I wasn't getting spark initially, because I had this hooked up to hot. So I tried that out. I can't show you that now. I already did it, and I didn't have enough hands anyway. But it didn't matter whether I hooked this up to hot or grounded. I would not get spark. So that might have been a reason maybe I prematurely blamed the Honda coil. So I dug the coil back out of the trash and I retested it. And this time when I tested it, the resistance that I got on the primary side was like 3.4 instead of what I think I said it was 1.7 before. Maybe, I don't remember. That's still way too much resistance. I need to get it down to 5.5, somewhere in that range. So I'll have to keep, and besides that, supposedly this GM coil, if I can find one with the right resistance, will make the bike run so much better, from what I hear anyway. So we're going to keep going with that avenue for now. So when I get some afternoon, I'll go to the junkyard and go around and test a bunch of them there. Maybe I have better luck at the junkyard than I have been at the local parts stores. But I think I'm done for tonight. Okay, now, those of you right now that are watching this, camped out on your shitter, it seems like everything's fine. The space-time continuum is just great. But it's not. On this side of the camera, I've jumped forward in the future about a month. It's magic. But let me explain to you how we got to this point. Okay, so the Honda has been relegated to the dirt part of the shed while I was figuring out a couple of issues, which one of them I still have not resolved yet. Now, as you recall, I got the coil, this GM coil, to work, and I do have spark. But I was having issues finding the right resistance coil. Now I went to all the parts stores. Sorry, you're going to get a lot of blathering here for a while. I went to the parts stores. I could not find anything that went below 1.2. I spent an afternoon in a U-Pull-It self-pull junkyard, and I started pulling coils. And let's see, I got through like 4 cars. Still couldn't get anything below 1.2. And I told myself I'm going to pull the coils off of 10 cars and that's it. If I can't find anything that gets me down to what I need, which was supposed to be 0.5 or at least below 1 ohm of resistance, I was just going to say screw it and run what I got. But as the day progressed and I pulled more and more coils and I still could not get anything past 1.2, it started to dawn upon me that maybe the problem was this cheap little piece of shit meter. Now, I had a better meter than this years ago and it crapped out on me, and then I needed a meter real quick to do something. I don't remember what it was, but I figured the cheapest damn meter I could find would work fine for what I was testing. But like I said, I don't remember what it was. So I think that thing cost me like $3 or $4. And I grabbed it and I just kind of had it ever since. And I don't really use meters that often, but that was the problem. Actually, there that day at the junkyard when I was testing coils, it started acting funny. And there were 2 cars that I'd already checked a couple of rows over. And both of those cars, all 6 coils said 1.2. I went back and checked them again, and they were 1.5. So I came to the conclusion that, yeah, that probably was the issue, was that. So I went and bought a new meter. This wasn't the most expensive one I could find at Home Depot, but it was damn close to it. And I don't remember what the number was. I checked on this coil here, but yeah, it was way below 1. So that was the whole problem with my with the ignition there. Not the ignition was working, like I said, obviously, but I wanted to get it to where I wanted. So that took care of that issue, but that's not the main issue that's been holding me up. And that bad meter also resulted in me misdiagnosing the coil on this Suzuki King Quad that I'm working on too, currently making a video on. But yeah, that's what you get for buying cheap tools, I guess. It's cold out here. My hands are getting cold. Anyway, I think I left off with, I was going to rebuild the carbs. I ordered some kits for it. There's a lot going on in these carbs. They're fairly complicated for what should be a simple motorcycle carb, and they were kind of a real bitch to get all these linkages put back together when I put the carbs back together. But anyway, as I think I've pointed out, this accelerator pump housing has been a huge pain in my ass. My last video when I got the ultrasonic cleaner, just because of this thing and all the solutions I used in it, none of them freed it up. But I did get that one little passage right there freed up, which I'm going to guess is some sort of a metering relief circuit or something. I don't know. Right now I have it soaking in Kano coil. It's been there for like a week. I'm going to, every few days, I'd come take this little stainless steel wire and work it down into that passage. So, I don't know, I'm going to work on that a little bit today. And also with the carb when I was reassembling it. Now, as I said before, someone's been into this carb. And I don't think they tried to rebuild it. I think they took it apart and either they decided it wasn't worth their time, or maybe they're going to get back to it later, or they were in over their head. They just threw all the crap back on it and stuffed it into the bike without hooking anything up. As you recall, it was just sitting there. There's a piece right here, goes in the top of this slide. And I don't know what its exact purpose is, but I'm thinking one of its purposes is to make the slide only go up so far. And one of them was missing. And the slide should still function just fine, but I can get in there with my finger and push the slide up all the way and it'll stick. So I went to the local hardware store and I was trying to find something that I could adapt to make one of those. I found these two options. This is pretty close. Sorry about the lighting. I'm going to try to figure out a way to clamp this into my lathe or maybe the drill press here and turn it down, and then once I get it diameter-wise to the size I need, because it needs two different sizes because it steps down, and then I should be able to cut it to length to get what I want, if I can get it turned down. Failing that, I got two of these little soft rubber plugs. They're probably a little too soft, but it might come to... These could be easily carefully whittled down with a knife to make them work, and then I don't know if I'll have to drill a hole through the center or not, but yeah, I think I'm just going to try the hard plastic one first. We'll see how that goes. Well, I'm going to try to make an arbor to hold on to this nylon bushing to turn it down into this. But unfortunately, I was going to make an arbor out of some threaded rod and a couple of nuts. But the nut is larger than the smaller shouldered area and the larger side as well. So I'm going to have to do some custom fabrication just to make an arbor. What I'm going to do, got it chucked in the drill press here, and I'm going to turn it on the drill press and just grind these down as they're turning till they get small enough. I'm not sure if I'm going to weld this nut to the shaft or just see if I can, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And first thing I need to do is get them turned down anyway. Alrighty, one step closer. Looks like the diameter that I ended up getting these nuts, it should be just perfect for one end of the stopper I'm going to be making. I don't know how well it's going to turn in the lathe, but let's find out. Well, as you can see, it's not centered, but I guess that's not terribly important because it's not like this part actually spins. I'm going to see if I got a little better bit to be turning it with than this chewed up thing. Alright, here goes. Cutting pretty good, I guess. Looks like I got the bit a little out of whack. Yeah, I'm not a professional machinist, as you can tell. Looks like I got it where it's just, I can get her wedged in there, which is all I need. Now I just need to turn this side down enough to fit into the upper, I don't know what you'd call it, the vacuum bowl or whatever. And that should be pretty easy. That doesn't have to be a very precise fit, just as long as it clears the inner sleeve. Alright, that second shouldered area, all it has to do is fit loosely into there. I just need to slice it off right there. I think what I'm going to try to do, hacksaw right there. Starting to get a little grabby there. Alright, whoops, might have boogered it up a little. I think that's about all I'm going to get. I think as I'm cutting that channel out, it's just squeezing the pieces together and grabbing the blade. Let's have a comparison there. Turned out pretty damn good. This bottom part is a little longer, but that shouldn't hurt anything because it's just going to be wedged down into the carburetor body. It shouldn't get into hitting anything or causing any travel limitations. Let's put it in and find out. Well, I kind of had to tap it on in there, but now the piston cover isn't wanting to fit. Oop, get over here. I don't know why it mushroomed that out. I didn't have to tap it in that hard, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm either going to try some sandpaper to take that down a little bit. If that don't work, I'm just have to get in there with a sharp knife and just kind of whittle that down. All right, so whittling on it with the knife didn't seem to make much difference. And I finally just chucked this whole piston assembly in the lathe and turned the plastic down. It took quite a bit of turning. I don't know why. Finally got it turned down where it runs through there nice and smooth. I'm hoping that there won't be some heat expansion issues with that. And wow, yeah, looking at that, it looks pretty ragged. I'll see if I can clean it up a little bit with a knife. But... all right. Slides nice and easy, returns. And before, if I ran without that plastic spacer on one side, it would make the piston jam up in the top. I did mark it, so for future reference, if I start having trouble with this carburetor, I'll know which one's the likely culprit, especially if that plastic in there heats up in such a way that it might bind it up. And I think the reason I had to take so much off of this was because the arbor that I made was off-center, and it wasn't so much it was egged out to one side, and that's why I had to lathe off quite a bit to make it finally clear that top piston. All better now. That crisis is averted. The only thing left is to mess around with that damned accelerator pump housing. All right, so apparently soaking it in the coil did not help. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you, but rest assured it's not coming through there. I think my only option left is to try a little bit of heat, see if I can break things loose in there. I think this torch is about petered out. Hey, it came out. Hold on, I'll let you see. Come on, focus, where are you? There we go. There's the check ball and the plug, and there's the spring sitting off on its own. Sorry, it's not focusing with the damn, is it? All right, this is great news. If I can hopefully get the plug to get back in there, but it's getting cold out here, and I got to go to work tonight. But man, I'm just stoked that I got that out. So hopefully here in the next couple days, I can get this carbs on here and see if we can get that bike running. Ha-ha! Got the Honda back in the shop. Hopefully going to get the carbs and whatnot back on it. As I already talked about the misreadings with the coils, now I'm getting, with the new meter, I'm getting readings that are too low. But I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and run it because I'm going to run this one because I'm getting a reading of 0.2. So yeah, the old meter was a full point off on ohms, but I guess the most important thing from would you stop being so needy? The most important thing that I read on this research, this subject, was you do not want too much resistance or that will make it wipe out the CDI box right there. Some motorcycle carbs, it's easier to put the carb in first and then get the throttle cable hooked up. Others, like this one, it appears, it'll be easier to hook up the cable first. Now, unfortunately, the choke cable is completely gone on this. Wow, that's a tight fit. Looks like I'm going to have to take the damn boots back off. Got by with just pulling this boot, manifold, whatever you want to call it, out of the way so I can get the carbs slipped in here. Get her all buttoned back together and get the carbs slipped into the boots. Kind of cold out here today. About, not quite 40 degrees. What are you tearing up, cat? Damn you. Not quite 40 degrees, so I don't know how flexible those boots are going to be. Probably not very, so I better spray a little something on to help. All right. I could get the heat going in the shop and get these boots warmed up a little, so hopefully I can get the carb stuffed in, but I don't have time for that today. Not to mess around getting the heat going, waiting a couple hours for it to get warm enough in here. Maybe tomorrow. You think a simple project like a motorcycle will be nice and quick, but no, it isn't. Not for me anyway. Out here in the shop next day, just got the oil burner going, and wow, look at that heat. Like the whole bottom half of that thing's glowing red. Well, not just the bottom half, look at the side over here. Holy crap, I've never seen it this hot before. Alright, had the heat going for a couple hours now. It was about 30 degrees when I got out here. We're up to what, pretty much 60. Yeah, right there. I spent the last couple hours wrestling with tires. Shop's all cleared out of tires now, other than those two back there. But I am wore out and I'm sweaty, but let's see if we can get these carburetors pushed on there. If not, I got a plan B as well. Oh, it ain't feeling any better. Ah, no. Man, these things are all old and dried out and hard. Nice and easy. Bad news, folks. That intake boot split. I'm gonna go ahead and just put the clamp on it. I think it'll be okay, but yeah, once I determine if this engine's any good or not and what I want to do with it, then I'll just go ahead and order some new boots for it. But till now, we're gonna press on with what we got. Another problem is just reared its ugly head. While the throttle does twist, takes quite a bit of effort, and it does not return. I know it's not the carburetors. I was going to take this apart, try to get some lubrication down into the throttle cable, but there is only one screw in here, and it is all boogered up. I cannot budge it at all, and there should be probably 2 or 3 in this from what I'm seeing. So I don't know, if the cables just need some lube, or someone's obviously been in here because they've took all this stuff out and maybe they've got something boogered up in there, but I guess I'll never know because I cannot get it open unless I destroy it. So yeah, we'll just again press on with what we can. Once I decide if this engine's any good and what the final plan is with the bike, then I can come up with a plan for that. Fine piece of engineering here for the fuel tank, all wired on. I thought I had an inline shut-off valve, but I can't seem to find it, so this will have to do. Batteries over there, ready to go. I think I got all my electronics hooked back up. Just going to put some fuel in here and see if she'll run. Now, anybody that knows motorcycles knows that when you don't run it through the air box, it messes up the airflow and makes it run lean. That and running an aftermarket exhaust. Now, I've got a couple of issues here to where I can't use the air box anyway. For one thing, I think there's like a rubber ring, sealing ring missing in here. And get on there. Even when that's down there, I can reach in there and wiggle that filter around. So yeah, it's not sealing up anyway. And these rubber boots are missing that connect the carburetor to the air box. There's a special place in hell for the people that designed these setups with these rubber boots. Now these ones probably wouldn't be that bad because there's only 2 of them and they're kind of out in the open. Looks like they're fairly easy to get to. But these rubber boots on these old motorcycles, they're just like these front ones. They get hard, solid, they get dried out, and they're just a real son of a bitch to mess with. My Kawasaki KZ1100 The main reason I went to the pod filters on it was because, yeah, there were 4 of these, and fight with them. I had 2 other people there blowing hot air on them with hair dryers to get them to soften up, and they just wouldn't do it. So I was like, screw it. I sent the carbs in to a professional, had him rebuild them and then rejet them based on what I told him I was going to be doing with the engine. Now, in time, I'll probably have to rejet this engine depending on what I do with it, because, yeah, I don't really think I'm going to be keeping it in this. But anyway, even if this does run, it's probably not going to run right, chances are, because of the it doesn't have the proper amount of airflow. It needs to be restricted down a little bit, actually, is what I'm getting at. All right, here we go. If I can figure out how to do this, I only have so many hands. I've got a wire set up here for the choke. Spark plug wire fell off. I need to idle it down a little anyway. No funny noises, no smoke from the exhaust. So far, it looks like she's a winner. Seems a bit sluggish on the RPMs. Like I said, I think it has something to do with it's running so lean. There you can see the accelerator pump has just seeped a little bit of fuel. A little bit of a cough seems to be coming from the carburetor on this side. It's only happening when I idle it down far enough. Well, as you can see, it's kind of smoky in here, but it doesn't smell rich, so it's not running rich. I don't know what that is. It's just, I don't know, maybe, yeah, who knows? It doesn't smell like oil either. Maybe it's just crap burning off the exhaust. All right, finally some success with this damn thing. It's already dark now. About time for me to go to work as usual. Maybe I can get a test ride in on it tomorrow. I don't know. We've got snow coming, and it's going to be very, very cold tomorrow. Yeah, if I can get up out of bed and it's quick enough before the snow hits, we'll try to take this thing for a little cruise. Well, I made it up. It's not snowing yet, so let's take it for a little ride. At this point, I'm feeling really good about this engine. But yeah, might as well take it for a ride and get an idea how good the clutch is and how good it pulls under a load. Like I said, it still may not run right with the air box not being hooked up, but we're going to find out. I can't go for a very long ride because, number one, the rear tire goes flat pretty quick. Number two, there's no battery in it, and it'll run without the battery, but if it dies, obviously I'm pushing it home. And number three, I don't have a lot of time today with that snow coming. I gotta get the snowplow bronc up in the field, get the snowplow hooked up. But yeah, I shouldn't really need much of a ride. This isn't about fun, it's about testing this engine to make it useful for another future fun project. It's like 20 degrees out today, this afternoon. I was expecting it to be in the low teens. Not that 20 is, you know, something to be bragging about for temperature. The helmet, it's not for safety, it's for warmth. Power actually seems pretty acceptable for that size of a bike. I only got it up in 4th gear. Seems like the brakes started dragging a little bit. Biggest problem, that front end is just light and squirrely. I don't know if there's something wrong with that tire. There's just wobbly, and it feels like maybe the forks are loose or something. I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm done going out on the road with it. Maybe I'll play around with it here a little bit. As you can see, it just started snowing as soon as I opened the door to take the bike out. you need more kibble? There you go. Well, I was right about the brake starting to drag. I got it up there in the corner of my property about as far away as you could get, and it was starting to lock up on me. Snow's getting heavier. I don't know if it's picking it up or not, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results, I guess. I actually had 3 options I was thinking about doing with that motorcycle. Number 1 was to put it back together and put it on the road. That's kind of the least likely one because that thing needs so many parts. It would cost a small fortune to put that thing back together. Number 2, I don't know why, I want to build kind of a big tire bike, like big knobby tires. I don't mean ATV tires, I mean like big knobby truck off-road tires. And problem with that is, yeah, it would take almost as much stuff to put the bike together for that, and then even so, what would I do with it? And you got to find the right tires to it with a nice round profile. And where would I ride that anyway? Number 3 was using the engine for a transplant into this. It's a Polaris Sportsman 335, and the engine in it is seized up. This has, you know, anybody that's familiar with these, it has that automatic, it's like a belt drive system in there. I should be able to put the engine in there and just chain drive. It uses the original Honda clutch and chain drive and hook it into the whole drivetrain over here at the back. In theory, I don't know how well it's going to fit in there or whatnot, but I might try to get it unstuck, but I don't know. We'll see once I get tearing into it. That's a project for another day, but overall this unit is in pretty good shape. Seat's a little tattered, the plastic's not busted up. It's just, yeah, a seized up engine. I got it for a real good price. Nice tires on it. My hands are freezing. I need to go get the snowplow hooked up, and I suppose I should retrieve the motorcycle. I don't want it sitting out in the snow and getting snow down the carburetors after all that work I put in them. So thanks for watching. And until next time, go out and find yourself a project, have fun with it. Just don't freeze in the process. Well, I was going to come out here with the loader and pick it up and take it, put it in the shop, but the shifter cable on the loader apparently got some rain in it, and now it's frozen. I can't get it in gear. So it looks like it's just going to have to camp out up here for a while. As you can see, I covered up the carburetors with some plastic bags. Without a battery in it, I don't think the mountain lion will come up here and get it started and go for a joyride. If he does, more power to him.